everybody, and welcome to today's video. And in today's video, I'll be doing one of these interesting matchups that I do, where it's kind of between two people within the same party determining who would be a stronger candidate or who would win the more electoral votes from some of the more competitive states. Before I get started, I do want to ask you I want to ask y'all to go comment down some questions for the Q&A that I did a little over a week ago, I think now. I wanted to do this in a week. I don't have loads of questions yet, so I want to try to have a sizable amount of questions for something for like a milestone this big. So please y'all go comment some questions down below for that. Actually probably watch the video first and then do it, but let's get started. First off is Nevada, which I'm gonna give to Sanders Till. I think that he has more appeal to Hispanic and Latino voters than Harris, and I think that he's going to do very, very well at the Bernie Bros, obviously. Arizona, I'm going to give it to him Till. I don't think that either of them are particularly strong for traditionally conservative suburbanites. However, I do think that Bernie has more appeal to Hispanic and Latino voters. I think that this one's closer to being a toss-up, and Nevada is honestly closer to being lean. Colorado, I'm going to give it to Bernie lean. I think he has much more appeal to white progressives. And I think he also has more appeal to Hispanic and Latino voters. New Mexico, I think he has more appeal to Hispanic and Latino voters, and I think he has more appeal to oil workers. Texas, I'm gonna get to later. Florida, I'm gonna give it to Harris Till. I think that Bernie is gonna do better with certain in terms of Hispanic and Latino voters. I think that Bernie is gonna do much worse with Cubans. However, I think it's gonna do better with Hispanic and Latino voters excluding Cubans in Florida. So I think that, like, generally he's a fairly strong candidate for Hispanic and Latino voters, but among Cubans in Florida, which make up a fairly sizable chunk of Hispanic and Latino voters in Florida, he is going to do very, very poorly, which will hurt him a lot. He'll probably lose, like, a quarter at least of the Hispanic and Latino vote just from Cubans. I think that in 2020 they split roughly half. I could be very, very wrong on that. I think that if they voted for Biden, I think that if it was like a 50-50 split, I think it's going to be at least like 60 or 75 for Bernie. So it'll probably be at least a third of Hispanic and Latino voters for voting Republican just from him, and then plus another third within that other probably half or so, typically a third, voting Republican. So I would think, now I'm doing a lot of really weird math. Now, like, 4/6, wait, no, wait, no, 3/6, so it's like a half and half split. So I think that's going to hurt him overall. I think that Harris is going to do slightly better, generally than Biden with Hispanic Latino voters, across the state. Not only among like Hispanic and Latino voters in general, but I think, or at least opposed to Bernie, I think that she's gonna do better with Cubans, definitely. But I also think she has much more appeal to traditionally, or to suburbanites, and maybe to, I would think, probably older white voters as well. Georgia, probably, I think that it's more likely to go to Harris by a likely margin than a tilt margin. I don't think that either of those is very likely. But I'm gonna give it to Arlene. I think she has much more appeal to black voters than Bernie, and I think that both of them are abysmal for white rural voters. North Carolina, I'm gonna give to Arlene. Yes, Bernie does have more appeal to the white working class, but I think that's basically probably the only, like, I think that's the only source of an argument for Bernie only losing it by a tilt margin. Other than that, I think it's essentially a done deal. In Virginia, I think that Harris just has more appeal to black voters and more appeal in the DC suburbs. Nebraska's second. Harris can do well enough in the suburbs. Iowa, I think that Bernie has much more appeal to white rural voters and to Obama to Trump voters. Minnesota, he's probably going to do fairly well in Minneapolis and do better with the white working class, probably also better with rural farmers, though Harris will probably do fairly similarly in Minneapolis, probably do better in the suburbs. Wisconsin, I'm going to give to Harris Till. I think she's going to do better with black voters and probably better with suburbanites, but Bernie's going to do better with the white working class and with rural voters. I'm still going to give it to Harris, but it's going to be relatively close. Fairly similar thing in Michigan and Ohio. As we see the black share of the electorate decreasing, it'll make the white working class, white rural voters, and suburbanites essentially like the three largest and most important, or not most important to win. I don't want to say most important demographics because no group of people is more important than another, obviously. But in terms of like not most important in like terms of like importance as a human being, obviously importance in terms of electoral weight that they carry, which is probably a better way to say that. It's gonna make the three most electorally the three most electorally consequential, so to speak, demographics: white rural voters, the white working class, and suburbanites, um, which will probably make it better for Bernie because those are the only demographic of those two where I think that Harris is stronger is suburbanites. Pennsylvania, it's a fairly similar thing, but I also think that I think that in Philly, I think there's gonna be enough turnout already set for Democrats in Philly. Plus, I think that Bernie has, one of his strongest demographics, maybe the demographic that is strongest for, is the white working class, and they kind of haven't, I feel like Bernie has a, a very, very strong, like a very large source of votes, white working class votes, like an urban white working class area within Pittsburgh, which will help him. New Hampshire, I'm going to give it to him lean. I think he has much more appeal to white rural college educated voters. Hold up, give me a little bit. Okay, I'm back. By the way, by the time this comes up, it'll be very, very early on Friday, which kind of sucks, but anyways, I tried to get through this last little bit quick. Maine, fairly similar thing. I think that Bernie has more appeal to white rural college educated voters. Maine also, I mean, like, this was more or less unrelated, but now kind of just thinking about it, he's going to be better in Maine second. Maine second, I think, has much more populist appeal. Texas is close. I am going to give it to Harris, though. I think that Bernie's going to do better with Hispanic and Latino voters, but Harris can do better with suburbanites. I think that there's going to be, among those two demographics, for Bernie, it'll be progress with suburbanites, but less, and progress with Hispanic and Latino voters. A narrow victory, whereas Harris will be slightly less progress with Hispanic and Latino voters, but definitely more progress with suburbanites, giving her Texas. Um, Honestly, it could potentially be or it could be potentially lean. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like below. Stay tuned for my next video. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Please comment your suggestions down below. And I hope to see you all in my next video. Bye!